Hello, hello. Welcome back to Austin Universe. Today is actually not a vlog. We're not leaving my room. We're not doing anything crazy today. Today is more of a ranking and analysis and discussion video, which will be the first of many in this new era of my channel. Ignore my voice. I'm recording this at like 5 in the morning, so I kind of sound weird, but you know, don't ask. Don't ask why I'm recording this at this hour. And to get back on topic, you may or may not know that my favorite event in the entire world is Universal Orlando's Halloween Horror Nights, also known as HHN, in celebration of 35 years of the event this year. Who's excited for Jack and Oddfellow? And for Sinners? I know I am. Oh my gosh, my carousel's falling apart again. I thought, why don't I go through my top 20 Halloween Horror Nights houses of all time that I've been through. I've been going since 2018. This will be my 8th year attending. Sorry, that took a while. I'm very excited to share this list with you. Disclaimer, this is not me saying that these are the best houses. These are my opinions of which ones were my favorites, and I'm a little biased on some of them because they're IPs that I really like. So my opinions are my own. I do not represent a best list. I do not represent any of that. So without further ado, let's get into my top 20 Halloween Horror Nights houses. All right, starting off with number 20 on the list. And this is actually pretty controversial, which is kind of crazy to me because I thought this house was amazing. It's The Last of Us from 2023. To be completely honest, I have not seen the show. I have not played the game. I know next to nothing about the franchise, but walking through that house, I just felt so immersed in the world. The Last of Us was so grand in scale, and it was so beautiful. And I really like any house that has like kind of a somber feel to it, like a more sad atmosphere than necessarily just terror all the time. Although I love those too, but I really liked especially that scene. We were kind of going through that courtyard at the end, and there's like the big bloater that comes out, and then up on the house you can see Joel like being a badass and fighting off the clickers and stuff. I thought that was cool. Really big fan of that house. I don't quite understand why it gets so much hate. At number 19, I have Scary Tales Deadly Ever After from 2018, and my god, I wish I could do this house again because my first year, which was the year that I went through this house, I was only like 12 years old, and I was terrified because that was my second ever haunted house, because my first was Carnival Graveyard, which is unfortunately not on this list, but honorable mention because that was my first HHN house and it was a really good house. But anyway, back to Scary Tales. Scary Tales was insane. Like, first thing you see is this giant facade of a castle with the Wicked Witch of the West from The Wizard of Oz, and she's flying around on like a harness, and I'm like, oh my god, that's crazy. And then you have all these scenes of these twisted fairy tales. So you got Goldilocks, you got Hansel and Gretel, Three Little Pigs, Little Mermaid, Rapunzel. All of these just really cool scenes that just made for a really grand and beautiful house with some good scares. It's quite the time for me, for little 12-year-old Austin. That was just learning to deal with haunted houses. But yeah, Scary Tales. Number 18 is going to be from 2022, and this is definitely a hot take. I don't think this is going to be on anyone else's top 20 ever. But this is The Horrors of Blumhouse, featuring Freaky and the Black Phone. So this house was kind of interesting because it was the first house that was in the Fast and the Furious location. And if you've been through a house in there, they didn't do this with Major Suites, but every other house that's been in that location, there's part of it that's like in the actual building. And then you go outside and there's a separate second half of the house that's in a tent. And what they did with that in this house is they had them both as separate movies, which I thought was a really smart idea of how to use the space, because it's kind of like two houses in one if you think about it. The freaky part was really fun. if you've seen that movie, it's not really scary. It's more camp and funny, which I love a good campy slasher. It was fun. It was whimsical, you know, all that stuff. But then you go out and the tone changes completely. You turn the corner and you go into the Black Phone and everything just... Because if you've seen the Black Phone, that is a very scary, very serious, very sad movie. And the entire tone changed. And I think what really made that house stand out to me is the tone change, because that's hard to do. When you're in the middle of a themed experience, it is hard to do a complete 180 and completely change the vibe up, which is exactly what this house did. And the Black Phone part was terrifying. It was dark, it was dingy, it was gross, like it made you feel gross, and the grabber is a terrifying villain, and there were so many times that he jumped out. Just the scares were really good. There were some hidden scares that like you wouldn't expect to be there that they hid really well in that house, and I think that house was really good overall, but the Black Phone part was definitely the part that stood out. Number 17 for me is kind of another weird one that people are probably gonna be like, this is in your top 20. But it's 2023 and it's The Exorcist Believer. And you know what? I'm gonna stand by this being in my top 20 because this house scared the shit out of me. Oh my god, this one got me so bad. I think the most fun part was that it was a preview for a movie that wasn't even out yet, so nobody really knew what to expect, but it completely blew my expectations out of the water. The cast was terrifying. They were insanely scary. The house was really well paced, really well laid out. It told a cohesive story, even though towards the end it kind of got weird, but that's because they didn't want to spoil the ending for the movie that wasn't out yet. I just really liked this house. I thought it was creepy. Number 16, we are running it back to actually this house was in 2021 at HHN, and it was also in the daytime Halloween experience in 2020. It is Universal Monsters Bride of Frankenstein Lives. This house was so well done. I love when they do original stories with IP characters. The story is that at the end of the Bride of Frankenstein movie, the monster explodes the castle, and in the rubble, the bride is the only one who survives. And she, after rejecting him, regrets her decision, and so she attempts to revive the monster by traveling to Dracula's castle and kidnapping his brides so that she can use vampire blood to revive him. And it was very well done. Y'all know how much I love this show. So number 15 is Stranger Things from 2023. This house covered season 4 of Stranger Things. They had all of the scenes. They had Eddie in his trailer with Chrissy, and they had the mindscape where Max got trapped, and they had all the Demobat fight with Master Puppets. Like, everything was in this house. Number 14 is 2024's Goblin's Feast, which gets overlooked. My gosh, guys, this house was so good. Like, I don't know why people brushed past this house. It was awesome. The sets were huge. There were projection effects. The character designs were so fun, and even better were the lines. The voice lines in this house were hilarious. It was such a fun, campy house with some genuinely good scares mixed in as well, and it was just it felt like Horror Nights to me. There were details in that house that I didn't even notice until I did the lights on tour, which I will add some pictures of. There's a whole facade of a castle that I didn't even see. I went through this house a ton during the event, and I didn't see it once until I did the lights on tour. And I'm like, it's details like that make these houses stand out above the rest, because there's details that you might not even see that they spent so much time on. At number 13, we're going back to 2019 for Ghostbusters, and this was based on the original 1984 film, which is in my top 4 films of all time. I love Ghostbusters, and I love this house. This house was very well done. It was it captured the essence of the movie very well. All of the characters you know and love were there. Slimer was there, Gozer was there, Stay Puft Marshmallow Man had a big scene. And of course, it followed the events of the movie. So you're going through the library at the beginning, and then there's the firehouse with Janine, and the hotel where they see Slimer. It was just perfect. For number 12, we're going back to 2024 for Slaughter Cinema 2. I loved this house, which I did not get to experience the original Slaughter Cinema house in 2018. So the fact that it came back for a sequel in 2024, I was like, this is my chance. I just love the feel of going through all the different completely made up B movies that don't really exist, but they're like fun little concepts, and you're walking through live trailers for all these B movies that are playing at the Cary Drive-In. And like one of my favorite scenes was the Zyborg scene where this house took place in one of the smaller tents, and there was a part in the Zyborg scene where you're like in the trenches, and there was this huge set piece of like a fortress that was like up on the top of the trenches, and I'm like, how did they fit that in here? Like it's crazy to me. And that was another detail that I didn't notice until like my 20th walkthrough of that house, that I'm like, they spend so much time on these details just for like almost nobody to see them. And Slaughter Cinema 2 was just fun. It was camp. It had its actually scary moments too. Night of the Undead Clowns got me every time. And yeah, there's a reason that the Slaughter Cinema houses are always fan favorites. At number 11 is 2021's Puppet Theater Captive Audience. This house was bonkers. I still think about this house to this day. Again, housed in a really small tent. But the stuff that they fit in this house, I'm like, oh my god. There's a whole scene where you go through this it's a theater. There's a stage, there's the audience over there, there's someone on like a balcony seat. It's crazy. And then there's all these scenes where you're walking through these theater references, which you guys know, I grew up a theater kid. Theater references, ballet references, so many puppets, marionettes, hand puppets, all of the sorts. And it was awesome. Fun, like, makeup looks, fun costumes. I wish I could go through it again. That's another house that I'm like, I feel like I'd appreciate it even more now if I got to walk through it again, because that was 5 years ago now. Oh my god, that was 5 years ago. That's crazy. But yeah. At number 10, now we're really getting into the goats, is from 2025. And it is a house that I was not expecting to like at all. And it's Terrifier. I don't like the movies. Not a huge fan of them. However, this house was so much fun. It was so well built. The scares were so well done, but it wasn't even that scary. It was just fun. When it was a long house, the sets were really impressive. It all took place inside the fun house from the second movie, and there's scenes from the different movies involved, but it's not like the direct same scenes because it's like an original take on it, which I really liked. And then of course, there's the dual pathway at the end where you chose Dry Path or Bloodbath, and I loved it. It was so fun, and I did the Bloodbath every time I went through that house, and I got soaked every time. It was awesome. At number 9, again from 2025, which 2025 is just an incredible year. Gulkin, Monsters of the North. This house blew my mind. This house was so good. Just the scenic details and the aesthetic of it all, the music, the scares. It was a scary house. It was a beautiful house. My god, it was beautiful. It was so technically impressive. There was a scene with animatronic wolves. There was and puppets and stilt walkers, and then at the end, this giant puppet that was like 2 stories tall and just huge. And then you go inside the belly of the beast, and it's this terrifying scene of all these creatures coming at you, and it was so good. And I loved the way they used like the Nordic aesthetic for that, and it just felt it felt cozy, which is a weird way to describe a haunted house, but like it felt nostalgic almost. At number 8 is a house that is very near and dear to my heart, and it is also from 2025, Hatchet and Chain's Demon Bounty Hunters. This house, I just really loved the narrative story it told. I love that we kind of went into the POV of Hatchet and Chains themselves and faced the demons as they were wreaking havoc on this town, and Granny Haggerty summoning the demons was such a good cold open for the house, and all the possessed townsfolk, and just everything in that house felt so immersive. It felt very realistic, which is interesting for a house about demons and demon cowboys. But yeah, it was great. The projections with the train, and there was this one demon with a sledgehammer, and he was really cool. Oh yeah, and of course all of the puppetry in that house. The big demon puppet at the end was amazing. And yeah, just no notes. Amazing house. It was terrifying. Number 7 is again from 2025. And this, let me tell you, when this got announced last year, I about peed my pants. Because I'd been waiting for this to come to Horror Nights forever. And it was Five Nights at Freddy's. And they did it justice. Was it scary? No, but it was so cool. It was such a well done recreation of the film, and I just remember walking in and seeing the facade and just being like, wow, I'm actually about to walk into Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria right now. Like, this is crazy. And then you go in and it's this huge scene and there's all the animatronics on the stage and they're dancing, and then they shut down and then the ghost kids come out. It's so good. It's so well done. It's so good. Just everything about that house, just the entire time I was just smiling, ear to ear. I just was so happy to have Five Nights at Freddy's be a part of the event. This is definitely another case of IP bias, but just the fact that they did that house and it happened and it was real is just still blows my mind. At number 6, we're going back to 2021 for HHN Icons Captured. Oh, this house was so good. I'm a big fan of Halloween Horror Nights lore and the icons, and I was even before I got to see them in person. I first studied up on that lore when I started going to the event back in 2018, and I didn't get to see the icons in person until this year, 2021. And that entire house, I was just geeked. I was just happy. I got to see all these characters. Everybody was in there. It just felt very special. I loved the end where it was a different icon on the throne each time. And I got to see a couple of different icons on there, and it was great. And I am so excited that this year is an anniversary year, because obviously we know Jack and Oddfellow are coming back, and I'm hoping that we get to see more icons this year because that house was amazing and it was so near and dear to my heart. At number 5 is a house that surprised me so hard that I'm genuinely shocked that it ever made it into my top 5. So, last year, Halloween Horror Nights announced that WWE The Horrors of the Wyatt Six was gonna come to the event. I had never been into wrestling. After this, I did watch a wrestling event, and I did look into the backstory of the Wyatt Six, and I realized why it was so important that they were having a house at Horror Nights. And from then on, I was rooting for it, and I was getting more and more excited as the time built up toward the event. And then I went into that house. That was the first house I went in, and oh my gosh, it was so good. It blew my mind. It was long, and the sets were amazing and detailed, and so much love was poured into them. The costume design was perfect, and above all, the cast knew that they had important work to do, and they delivered. It was so good from start to finish. The atmosphere, the music, the sets, everything. I know I just said the sets twice, but I loved that house. That house, I think about it every day. And I so wish I could do it again. Even though I got to do it quite a few times, I wish I could go back and do it once again, because it was incredible and I loved every minute that I spent inside that house. And it was so special to see Bray Wyatt get that achievement done even after he unfortunately passed. Number 4, we are going back to my first year, 2018, for yet another Stranger Things house. But this was based on season 1. And this house was perfect. It was scary. It had all the characters. The sets were jaw-dropping. The scenes that were chosen to be in the house were perfect. The music was perfect. Just everything about it was on point, and it was easily my favorite house that year. And that was the whole reason I started going to Horror Nights in the first place, was because I wanted to see that house. And so I am eternally grateful that it introduced me to this event. One of my favorite scenes was when you went into the Upside Down and you have Nancy coming out and she's looking for Jonathan, and you're looking around and the particles are in the air and it's tall and it's huge and you're in a forest and it's all blue and like scary looking, and it's so good. The atmosphere was perfect. And the Demogorgons were terrifying, and their like heads were so impressive because the mouth could open and close. It was so cool, and the ending was so cool and so scary, because I like how they kind of ended it in an abstract way, where you go into the school and you see Eleven banishing the Demogorgon to the Upside Down, and she disappears, and then you go into the pitch black void where there's a bunch of Demogorgons that are trying to get you, and then the house just ends with Eleven saving you from the Demogorgons and you get to escape, and it is so cool. I loved that house, and I love that show. It's my favorite show of all time, so any house that had that show in it, I'm gonna automatically love. For number 3, we are heading into 2024, and let me tell you, I had been a huge fan of the Insidious franchise since I was 13 years old, and when they announced that that was coming to Halloween Horror Nights in 2024, I lost it. I was so excited. I knew that they had done it before. They had done Insidious before, so I had lost hope that I was gonna get to go through a house based on that franchise, but I did, and it was perfect. It was so good. If you went through that house, you know what I'm talking about. It was terrifying. The sets were amazing. They were so accurate to the movie. The character design was so accurate. It really felt like you were in the Further. One of my favorite parts in general was the build up to it, because you go down a hallway of curtains and you can hear the main theme from the movie playing, and you got Elise basically counting you down to go into the Further. And there's a giant red door, and once you walk through that giant red door, you're in the Further, and from then on, you are at the mercy of the demons and the ghosts that are in there, and it is terrifying. At number 2, we are once again going back to 2019, and this house. Peak! This is the original Universal Monsters house that they had in 2019. Start to finish, amazing. It was long. There were so many rooms, and each monster got to shine in their own scene. We even had a scene with Creature from the Black Lagoon. We had Phantom of the Opera in there. We had Hunchback in there. Dracula, of course, Frankenstein, Mummy, Wolfman, all the ones that you know and love. Bride of Frankenstein. Just everybody was there, and that house was beautiful. It was visually stunning. There were so many amazing special effects, and it was scary, and it was awesome, and it was a love letter to all classic Monsters fans out there. And you know, with Darkmoor opening at Epic Universe, us Universal Monsters fans are winning, and this house started that. I firmly believe this house started the modern, at least in the Universal community, the modern big boom of Universal Monsters. And finally, my number 1, my top Halloween Horror Nights house of all time. It is 2021 the Netflix show The Haunting of Hill House. This house, it was perfect. I love this show. This show is second to Stranger Things as my favorite show. And I went into this house being like, I don't know how they're gonna do this. Like, I don't know how it's gonna work out. I thought it was executed beautifully. And the facade for this house is still possibly the best facade. I just remember walking into the building in person and seeing they did like a 3-story recreation of the exterior Hill House. It was bonkers. I just remember walking in and seeing it, and it's huge, and I'm just like, oh my god. Like, I started crying immediately because I love the show so much. And you go in there and it starts off super eerie and ominous. There's not a lot of jump scares. It's more like you can hear whispers in your ear and breathing, and like the doorknobs are rattling and some doors are creaking and stuff like that. And the further you go into the house and the more ghosts you encounter and the more backstories that you witness, the more intense it gets. And I love it. I love it. I love that. That scene where you are in pitch darkness and the bent neck lady comes down at you from the ceiling. Oh my god, are you kidding? That was insane. And the tall man on stilts. And my favorite part of this house, hands down, was the last like minute where you go into the red room and there's the tea party where Olivia, tries to poison the kids. And then from then on out, it is just boom, 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 boom in your face, like ping pong scares. And it's just all these different things coming at you. This house, like I said, for Last of Us, I love the houses that have like a somber feel to them, and this absolutely did. Because if you've seen the show, it is sad, it is depressing, and this house captured that perfectly while also being relentlessly terrifying. And that's one of the many reasons that it stuck out to me. So yeah. Well, there we have it, folks. My top 20 Halloween Horror Nights houses of all time. Please tell me in the comments what your favorite Halloween Horror Nights houses are. I would be so happy to hear and discuss. I love talking about Halloween Horror Nights. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. So, let me know in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!